Hi guys and girls and kittens, and welcome to the IE Nero Magic Show. So in the last video I created an SQLite database. If you don't remember, I chose my demo database here. I switched to SQL view, and then I wrote create an SQLite DDL for SCRM, right? And then I got the SQL statements back from the AI that basically resulted in this. Now, in this video, I want to show you how to automatically wrap this entire database inside of CRUD HTTP endpoints. More specifically, I want to show you a deep dive into the endpoint generator. So first things first, what's CRUD? CRUD is an acronym. As I previously said, we software developers, we love these acronyms, and create happens to mean create, read, update, delete. It's basically the four axioms around which all your data actually belongs to. If you get CRUD, you can handle data, period, end of debate. Now, an application isn't all about CRUD, obviously. However, CRUD happens to be way more than 50% of the problem required to actually create an application, assuming your application handles data in one way or another. So here you can see the database I created in the last video using the AI. It contains 5 tables. It's a minimalistic CRM database, customer relationship management system database. It contains customers, deals, activities, users, and contacts, right? So these are like the, I don't know, 5 core tables according to ChatGPT that, you need to have a CRM, right? So now I am going to go to create. I'm going to go to the endpoint generator. Then I'm going to choose this particular database, demo, at which point I can actually go through and configure on an individual table level all of my tables by clicking all tables and choosing one of them, for instance. And then I can go through and choose settings for individual tables. If I choose all my tables, I get a slightly different configuration setting here. However, it's still fundamentally the same. First of all, I choose my database type, right? And this could be MySQL, PostgreSQL, or SQL Server, or anything really. Choose my connection string, and I choose my database inside of that particular database server. If you don't know how to connect to a database, you can open manage/databases, and then you can connect to any existing database you have. MySQL, PostgreSQL, or SQL Server, you provide a name for a connection string, and then you provide a connection string. To which point you can use MySQL or PostgreSQL or SQL Server. I'm going to be using my SQLite database that I created in my previous video. Here you see the authentication or authorization settings for the CRUD generator. So here you have the create endpoint, here you have the read endpoint, the update endpoint, and the delete endpoint. So I can have different default authorization settings. For instance, for the delete endpoint, maybe I only want to have root accounts being able to delete, right? And maybe I want to have guest accounts being able to read, right? Maybe I don't want to have paging. Maybe I don't want to have sorting. Maybe I want to log, create, update, or delete invocations, etc., etc. Verbose filtering, if I check this on, I will get tons of additional query parameters I can supply to my API endpoints when I'm extracting items over my API. So now if I click generate endpoints, a couple of seconds later, system's going to tell me that it produced 1,529 lines of code for me. And I now actually have, if I now go to manage and I go to endpoints and I write modules/demo, then the system produced all of these endpoints for me. Basically 25 HTTP API endpoints, one endpoint for each CRUD operation in addition to account endpoints for every single table. That's 5 endpoints per table multiplied by 5 tables, 25 endpoints. So the system produced almost 2,000 lines of code for me automatically in a couple of seconds. And I can now immediately start invoking these endpoints. If I choose get on activities here, for instance, and I try it out, it's not going to return anything because there aren't any records in my activities table. However, if I now use the post bugger and I actually post something, okay, I need a contact first. Let me find contact. Contacts, posts, and then I need a customer. Thank you. Customer post. Let's see this guy. Company name. Okay, Acme Inc. Industry. Acme stuff. Right. Website http://foo.com. Address Foo Street 57. City LA. State CA. Zip code, I don't know, 90000. Right, country US, and I invoke it. Ta-da! I now have a customer. If I now invoke customers get, you will see that it returns my Acme company that I just now created. Right. So now I can go into HyperID and I can actually have a look at the code the system automatically produced for me. All of these files were automatically created for me as I clicked the button. I need to emphasize there are 25 files. This file has 138 lines of code. So I mean, manually creating what I did now in 2 seconds by just wrapping my database inside of CRUD API endpoints would take months for a senior software developer, right? Unless he's using some sort of like similar type of tool. And I can actually, from within HyperID, immediately now, if I find, for instance, my customers.get.hl bugger here, I click F5 and I execute it, then I can immediately actually invoke the endpoint and I can see the company I just created just now, right? So, and then you see the CRUD HTTP API endpoints are given lots of arguments that can be optionally provided, allowing me to limit maximum number of records to delete. This number is 10 or 20 by default, can't remember. Offset is how many records to offset from the beginning before it actually starts returning items. Order is either descending or ascending. No, order is the name of the column I want to order by. Direction is descending or ascending. And here you see customer ID equal, company name like. If I now write A%, then it's going to return Acme. If I write instead B%, it's going to return nothing. Why? Because there are no companies that starts out with the character B. So this becomes a filter criteria, allowing me to actually invoke the API endpoint from my front-end client code. And you see all of these arguments, basically for every single column. The arguments are intelligently created according to the type. If I had, for instance, an integer column, it would not produce a like argument like this like bugger here. But zip code is text, so therefore we get a like argument for zip code. So now already at this point, I can actually start using this particular API. I don't really have the time to create a front end using React or Angular. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to be using ChatGPT, and more specifically, I'm going to be creating a custom GPT. So, but before I do, let me go back to create and let me go to Endpoint Generator and let me recreate this bugger. But at this point, let me just turn off authentication for all of my endpoints for simplicity reasons, because that allows me to access them anonymously without having to supply JWT token. Then you need to choose overwrite, generate endpoints, and boom, it's overwritten every single HTTP API endpoint inside of my demo folder. If I now go back to HyperID, I choose modules, I choose demo, I open up any of these guys, you will see that there is no authentication on the top here. If there was authentication, it would look like this, auth.verify, whoops, verify, and then the name of the role, admin, root, for instance. So what I'm going to be doing now to demonstrate that the API actually works, I'm going to select the demo modules folder inside of my modules folder here, and I'm going to click the HTTP icon. And this actually automatically generates an OpenAPI specification for me that I can actually immediately consume inside of my own custom GPT. I can copy the JSON. For instance, now I can go to ChatGPT, chat.openai.com/GPTs/editor. And now I can create a GPT that is actually connected to my API by going down here at the bottom, create new action, and just paste in the JSON. And that's really it. Then I go back, and then I name my GPT, foo bar, right? And then I can provide an instruction that says, if I ask you to perform a CRUD operation, assume I want you to use my, what's the name of the module? Demo action. Okay, so now conversation starters, I want to create a customer, right? Let's create another one. I want to create a contact, and let's just save this guy, only me, confirm, and it might be that it might be that we want to edit it, edit GPT, and provide an additional instruction here saying, if I ask you to do an action and I supply you with incomplete data, ask me for the data before you attempt invoking the action. Okay, so let's try to save it again, only me, confirm. And now, of course, the point being now that I have connected my GPT to my backend CRUD API, I can tell it I want to create a customer, at which point it's going to ask me, okay, what do you want the customer to be named, right? Company name, industry, website, address, city, state, zip code, country, okay? Foo Bar Inc. Industry, lumbering. Right, let's do website, http://lumbering.com, address, Howdy Street, 77, state, city, Los Angeles, state, CA, zip code 90,001, country, US, and created at datetime. It needs to use the default value, use the default value for created at column. Let's see how it reacts. Hopefully it's going to succeed now. Now, if everything succeeds, it's going to reach out to my Cloudlets, ask me for permission to do so before it actually does. Then it's going to transmit this data using JSON as its format, which is actually going to end up that I have a new company, right, inside of my database in my Cloudlets. Talk to Thomas Test team.us.inero.io. Let's see. Now go back here, close this guy, open up SQL Studio, SQL view, select all from, and then we need to change database to demo, customers, and there you go. So as you can see now, it created the lumbering company, now using a JSON API. So basically the CRUD generator allows you to extremely rapidly create a CRUD API. And now that I actually have my CRUD API, I can actually, and this is one of the unique things about Magic, because, I mean, after all, a CRUD API, being able to generate a CRUD API is a kick-ass thing. I mean, I produced almost 2,000 lines of code. That's like 2 man-months of software development work. However, the CRUD API by itself is really quite useless. Right? So, because you always need to add some sort of like business logic onto your CRUD API. So if I now go to, for instance, customers.delete.hl, this is the endpoint that's being invoked as I tell ChatGPT to delete the customer, right? If I now go here down at line 30 below the data.delete bugger, and I click arrow return, and I click Shift Tab twice to come to the same indentation as my data.delete invocation here now. And if I now write in the filter dialog in the top left corner, email, right? Then I can actually send an email every single time a customer is deleted. So the name of the person I'm sending the email to, and I can use the arguments provided as input arguments to the endpoint, but I'm just going to send Thomas Hansen an email. thomas@gaiasol.com, and the email is going to be from team@inero.io, from Inero team. It's not my day today. Team@inero.io. Subject: customer was deleted. Ta-da, right. And then let's do some body here. Customer was deleted. So this is not HTML, so I'm going to turn off this guy. Okay. Then let's save it. And then let's see now. You heard the sound in the video, hopefully. I presume I heard it in my ears some few minutes ago. There, ding, ding. That was me getting an email. So now, if I ask my GPT to delete the foo bar in customer, hopefully I'm going to be actually be given a sound saying I got an email. Why? Because the endpoint that actually deletes a customer now sends me an email. Right. Let's see. Talk to. Let's now go back. Customer foo bar has been successfully deleted. If you now go back to create SQL Studio, click SQL view, select all from, choose the correct database, customers. You see now there's no foo bar. There's only the Acme Inc. first customer we created. And now the point being, hopefully, if I now check my email, I'm going to have to blur the screen here now, unfortunately. Point being that I should have given an email. And here you can see my email was perfectly sent to thomas@guysol.com from my Nido team. And here you see the from email address. And here you see customer was deleted, 2 exclamation marks, and customer was deleted here. So I was actually able to take my CRUD API here inside of modules, inside of demo, inside of customers.delete.hl, and I was able to add a workflow action to this particular endpoint. That is pretty kick-ass. And of course, as I've shown you in previous video, where we went through the workflow construct, there are basically 50 actions here. And if you download plugins, you will get additional actions. I could also integrate Stripe payments upon deletion of customers too, if I wanted to. Anyways, that was it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.